Hey all, it's Alexander Quinn here, and your friendly neighborhood advisor. Today I'm going to be telling you about 3 tips for how to spend less without feeling it. All right. So tip number 1 is I'm going to say automate. All right, and just in general, anything. I do have a specific tip here, but I want to be as helpful as I can. And I think that if anybody automates what they do in the background with their accounts, that it's going to just kind of help them in the long run. It's, you don't feel what's going on, you're not paying attention, and then your credit score goes up, your savings goes up, and it all just kind of like works in your favor. So I would set to where you save like $10 a month, ends up going into a savings account automatically, and then once a month around the first, increase that amount by $10 and keep going until you hit an amount to where you are going to be financially free in the future. Figure out how much money you want in the end, what size house, what salary you want annually, multiply that by how many years you think you're going to live after your estimated retirement age. Whatever that amount is, that's how much you want to get in the bank. And unless you're going to be investing and plan on starting your own business, all right? You can do both actually as well, or you're saving up for investments. But yeah, so just save up, have it be automatic, start with 10 and then 20 and then 30. And of course you should do more, you can do more. I'm just kind of making sure that this is reasonable advice for anyone to do. I want to try to help everybody out there, no matter what place they're at. But I personally would start with a much higher number, like $200, etc. But whatever you do, make sure that the amount that you put away is so low that you will find it ridiculous if you don't. Because the most important thing is you need to make sure you don't fail at it. Once you dip into those savings, it's too easy to dip in. It's just a line that once you cross it, you keep crossing it. That's how our minds typically work. So make sure whatever it is that if you didn't save that amount, you would be thinking you're ridiculous for not doing it. Every month, try to increase it by $10 a month. If you're not able to get something automated to do it, or to get your partner to do it, or someone who has access to your account. But you want that to be saved automatically or come out of your checks automatically, etc., so that you don't feel it. You're not going to feel it if that's happening, and it's just going to be bit by bit. So that's one way, is just automated. Another way that you can do it is you can try to find one thing that you spend a lot of money on to cut back on, and just kind of focus on one thing that's going to be like a high ticket item, but it should be something that you purchase frequently. Because even if something seems like a lot of money, but it's only once a month, for example, it might actually not be as much as it seems, or it's usually something you will feel, you will notice if you're not spending like $100 a month on some expensive something that you're spending money on, or find something that you won't notice in your life. If you pay for Amazon Prime but you're not actually using it a whole lot, or you're okay with getting your packages a couple of days later, then maybe that's what you should cancel and save $30 a month or whatever that amount is. And then at the end of the year, that ends up being a few $100s, and that makes a difference, especially if you do that with 5 things. I actually did that once. I was working hard at a company, and I was trying to get a raise. They already gave me a bunch of raises the previous year, but I worked my butt off for a year and asked them for $1,000, which was actually low. That was the lowest raise that you would typically get at that time for a general manager. And what they said no, and I realized that I was never going to go anywhere. So I said, well, I am not happy where I'm at. So if I can't make more, I need to spend less. And I was buying 2 Arizonas a day, 2 Arizona drinks a day, and they were $1 back then, just like they are now. Way to go, Arizona. But so yeah, 2 cans a day. That was $2 a day. That was $700 a year, over $700 a year actually. And I found 5 items to cut that ended up amounting to almost $5,000 a year. So I ended up paying myself almost 5 times what I was trying to get for the raise, and I was able to do it instantly instead of work my butt off for a year. And I didn't even notice. As soon as I did it, I did not even notice that I wasn't doing those things. The hard part is just making yourself do it, coming to the realization that you want a better life and that you need to do it to get to that life. So I think something that you're not going to notice, or something that you do frequently that is small. Larger things are easier to notice, but it depends on what it is. Determine what is going to be the easiest for you to not notice is gone, where you don't use it. Either you don't use it often and it is a high ticket item, or it's a low ticket item that you do that happens frequently, like maybe coffee or whatever, etc. And you'd be surprised once you finish going through withdrawals how easy it is just to kind of reset to normal after a couple of weeks. And it's or if you switch to pop, which is a lot cheaper than getting from Caribou or Starbucks, something like that, etc. Another thing I'm going to say is pay yourself first. This is an interesting concept. I have my own version of it. It's a little bit different from typical, although typical is kind of weird to say since I don't know anyone else who's really heard of it. But pay yourself first is a concept that usually is put out there to say that if you, I don't want to simplify it because it means different things to different people, and I don't want to be quoted in as wrong when it's a little bit subjective. But my version of pay yourself first is basically you figure out, you look at your bank statements real quick just for like a couple of seconds. You look at your last 5 months and you take the middle amount of how much you made and the middle amount of how much you spent. The bank statements would be how much you spent, so the middle amount that you spent, and assume that that is like your typical. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, just choose that as your typical. The point is just to get it done. You can worry about specifics later, little tinges you want to make to it, but it takes no time to do this. And then as far as what you make, you can probably figure that out anyway. You probably already know that. And just kind of take rough numbers, put it together, and figure out what you want to save. And so this would be a conscious savings. This wouldn't be the idea of kind of leaving it, setting it and forget it, although you do want to do that as well with this plan. It does make it more helpful, but that's not really the point here. We're not trying to kind of trick ourselves exactly. Maybe a little bit, but so hear me out. What you do is you set aside a budget for what you're going to save, all right? And when you get paid, you pay yourself first, then you pay your bills, then whatever's left, you get to spend freely, okay? Now, here is the difference. I've actually coached a lot of people and explained this concept to them, and they felt kind of like weird. They didn't understand how it would work, especially if they only saved like $10 a month. And what happens is here. So first, I'll explain how it helps you survive in tough situations, and then I'll help explain how you get enjoyment out of it and the motivation and how and just kind of how it hacks your brain. All right. So first, for survival, let's say that you are struggling to pay the rent. You owe $1,000 and you just got paid $500. If you pay your bills first, you pay that $500, you still get kicked out. You face all the same consequences. You still owe money. You still have an eviction on your record. So you've got problems. But if you pay that $500 to yourself first, instead of being homeless, trying to figure out where to put your kid, trying to figure out, your car breaks down, you're trying to look for a job, whatever your situation is, you've got $500. That goes a lot further than nothing. Nothing, you're pretty screwed. I don't know what people do in that situation. I was actually in that situation once, but I was young and dumb and didn't think of, looking into what my options were. So even though I was there briefly, I don't even know what you do in that situation to get out of it. So it sounds doomed to me, and even if it's not, it's definitely not somewhere I want to be ever again, even if I had some assistance. So point is, you want to, if you pay yourself first, then you have that money for an emergency, and then once you have enough to pay the bill, then you can worry about paying the bill, all right? You pretend that the savings is not there until whatever you put the money towards needs to be saving you money. Everything you take from your savings needs to be an investment. So your car is an investment to keep your job. Your home, it's only worth it, it's only an investment if you think you're going to pay again next month, or if you have enough to actually put into the rent. Otherwise, it's not an investment. It doesn't save you money because you're just putting some money at them, okay? So it makes no difference. That's not what you want to do, all right? When you pay yourself first, here's the interesting part. Here's where the fun part comes in. So once you pay yourself and then your bills, if you start off with, let's say, like $10 a month and you have like $200 left over, what's interesting is you get to spend that freely. And that's fun, and that's great, and it sounds kind of weird. But here's how this works. When people get to that point, they feel great because they feel like, they're like, wait, I paid my bills, and I saved up how much I said I would, and I've got all this extra. So you feel like you're exceeding, but that actually is not different from like your typical you. The difference is usually you're spending what you have, and you're trying not to hit zero, and then you're trying to save at the same time, and we're not good at doing that. People are not good at that, not naturally. All right, that's not, evolution did not prepare us for this. So, so instead, if you pay yourself first, you're like, I made it already. I'm successful. I'm a businessman. So you go, you do this, but also what's interesting is if you give yourself permission to spend a couple $100, you actually don't want to. Usually we like to buy things because we tell ourselves no. But if we say it's okay, we actually don't want to. We'll spend some, but usually we spend less. So that's kind of a mental hack for you. Anyway, try it out for a couple months. Can't hurt. It's just $10 in your savings, and see if it helps you out. I hope this helps somebody out there. You all have a wonderful day.